Deep within the green valleys of ancient Thessaly, where the mountains touched the sky and the rivers carried songs of old gods, a young Hercules walked with steady but humble steps. The sun had just begun rising, spreading golden light across the fields, and the soft wind carried the scent of pine. Though he was known throughout the land for his immense strength, Hercules was still learning that power alone did not guide a person's heart. This morning, as he followed a winding forest path, he felt a quiet sense of purpose stirring within him, though he did not yet know why. Beyond the hills stretched a vast meadow where herds of wild horses lived, creatures known for their unmatched speed and fierce spirit. Among them was one that villagers whispered about, the storm mane, a powerful stallion with a coat the color of thunderclouds and eyes bright like lightning. He had never been tamed, never been touched, and no rope had ever held him. The villagers spoke of him with both admiration and fear, for though he meant no harm, he could be wild in his panic. And so, when the sun's light touched the grass that morning, the valley echoed with shouts. Hercules heard them, urgent cries for help. He ran toward the meadow, covering the distance with the ease of a seasoned warrior. There, near a broken wooden fence, he found a young shepherd boy crying. The boy's small flock of sheep huddled together, bleating in distress. And beyond them, in the middle of the open field, the great storm mane reared and thrashed, his front leg tangled in a thick vine. The more he struggled, the tighter the vine pulled. His hooves kicked dust into the air, his screams sharp and filled with fear. Villagers stood at a safe distance, unsure what to do. A few held ropes, but none dared approach. The stallion was too strong, too wild, too unpredictable. The shepherd boy tugged at Hercules's tunic. "Please," he begged through trembling lips. "My father tried to free him, but the horse nearly trampled him. The villagers want to leave Stormmane to free himself, but he's hurting. He might break his own leg." Hercules knelt to the boy's level. "What is your name?" he asked gently. "Lycas," the boy whispered. "And Stormmane belongs to no one, correct?" Lycas shook his head. "He belongs to the valley. He runs with the wind. But he has never harmed a soul." Hercules rose, his gaze fixed on the struggling stallion. The horse's fear-filled cries echoed through the air, carrying a pain that struck something inside Hercules's chest. He knew well the feeling of being misunderstood, judged only by strength, while inside beat a heart that wished to do good. One of the villagers, an older man with a gruff voice, called out, "Hercules, even you cannot tame that creature. Best stay back. He'll kick your skull in." Another added, "We should let nature take its course. It's not our place to interfere." Hercules ignored them. "A life is in danger," he said softly, more to himself than anyone else. "If we can help, we should." Walking slowly toward Stormmane, he kept his movements calm and deliberate. Dust swirled around him as the stallion thrashed harder at his approach. Hercules stopped several paces away, allowing the animal to see him clearly. "It's all right," he murmured, his voice low and steady. "I'm not here to harm you." Stormmane snorted violently, pawing at the earth with his free leg. His muscles trembled, his breath came in harsh bursts, and the vine dug deeper into his flesh. Hercules placed his hands at his sides, showing he held no rope, no weapon. "You're scared," he continued, "but I won't touch you until you trust me." Villagers exchanged bewildered looks. "Talking to a wild horse," one muttered. Lycas watched with tear-filled hope. Hercules stood quietly. He slowed his breathing, letting the rhythm blend with the wind. Stormmane's ears flicked uncertainly. He eyed Hercules not as an intruder now but as something unfamiliar, someone who wasn't forcing, chasing, or commanding. Minutes passed. Hercules remained still. Finally, the mighty stallion's movements softened. His chest rose and fell in uneven but slower breaths. His front leg stopped kicking the air. His eyes, once blazing with fear, held a glimmer of weary confusion. Only then did Hercules take a careful step forward. Stormane's head jerked slightly, but he did not rear. Hercules whispered, "Easy. I am here to help." He reached the stallion, close enough to feel the heat of his trembling body. The vine was tightly wrapped, its thorny ends biting into the horse's skin. Hercules placed a gentle hand on Stormane's shoulder. The animal jerked but didn't flee. "It will hurt for a moment," Hercules said in a soft tone. "But after that, you will be free." With extreme care, he gripped the vine and pulled. The vine resisted at first, refusing to loosen its cruel hold. Stormane shrieked and reared, but Hercules held firm, not by force alone, but with steadiness. He didn't yank roughly, he worked slowly, carefully freeing the vine's thorns one by one. "There," he whispered as he finally unwound the last loop. When the vine came free, Stormane staggered backward. Hercules stepped away immediately, giving him space. The villagers shouted in surprise as the stallion bolted forward, but instead of charging or kicking, he ran in a wide circle, shaking out his injured leg. Dust rose in clouds around him as he galloped faster and faster, the wind catching his mane like storm clouds swirling in motion. Lycus laughed through his tears. "He's free." But something remarkable happened next. Instead of disappearing into the hills, Stormane slowed. He walked back toward Hercules, the ground thudding softly beneath his hooves. His breath came in warm bursts, and his eyes, those bright lightning eyes, met Hercules's with a strange, deep calm. He bowed his head. Hercules's heart filled with warmth. "You're welcome," he whispered. The villagers were astonished. Never had they seen the wild stallion approach anyone willingly. They murmured among themselves, wondering if this was some new display of Hercules's strength. But Lycus stood with pride. "It wasn't strength," the boy said aloud. "It was kindness." Stormane stayed near Hercules for a moment longer before turning and galloping away, disappearing into the open valley with renewed grace. But the story did not end there. That night, as the moon rose full and silver, Hercules set camp near the valley's edge. He stared at the fire, remembering the look in the stallion's eyes. There was something powerful in kindness, something even greater than strength. He realized a simple truth: force might command obedience, but kindness earned trust. As he prepared to sleep, he heard soft hoofbeats. Turning, he saw Stormane emerging from the shadows, the moonlight glowing on his coat. Hercules stood slowly, surprised. "You came back," he said with a soft smile. Stormane snorted gently and stepped closer. He lowered his head and nudged Hercules's shoulder, as if acknowledging him not as a master but as a friend. "You wish to stay?" Hercules asked. The horse lifted his head proudly, then dipped it again toward Hercules. "Then stay," Hercules said warmly. "But know that you are free. You owe me nothing." The stallion seemed to understand. He settled near the edge of the camp, his strong body resting peacefully. By morning, word had spread across Thessaly that the mighty Stormane had chosen to follow Hercules. Villagers gathered in amazement as Hercules walked with the stallion beside him, no rope, no reins. Just companionship. Some bowed in respect. Others whispered, "It must be his power." But Lycus shook his head again, his young voice filled with certainty. It was kindness. Over the months that followed, Hercules and Stormane traveled together through forests, mountains, and villages where people welcomed them with awe. The stallion would help pull heavy carts stuck in mud, guide lost travelers through fog, and even nudge frightened children toward safety when wild animals approached. People began to realize that the greatest strength Hercules possessed was not his muscles but his heart. His kindness spread like ripples through the land. Where he walked, people learned to treat animals with gentleness, to help strangers without reward, and to look beyond fear when offering compassion. And Stormane, once the most feared wild horse of Thessaly, became a symbol of trust and freedom. He ran at Hercules' side not because he was commanded but because kindness had touched him in a way nothing else ever had. Years later, when Hercules grew even more renowned, storytellers across Greece told tales of his incredible feats. But whenever they reached the story of the wild horse, they spoke softly, with a warmth that touched every listener's heart. For that tale carried a simple lesson, one that even the strongest hero needed to learn. True strength shines brightest through kindness. And so the Valley of Thessaly remembered forever the day when a gentle act bound the hearts of a hero and a wild horse, not with ropes, but with trust. Storm continued to roam freely, always returning to Hercules' side, as if guided by an unseen bond. And the people who witnessed the story passed it on to generations, teaching children that courage is noble, power is admirable, but kindness is divine. If you want image prompts for the full story with consistent character and horse appearance, just tell me.